Alright, I got this kit off Marketplace for a 4500, 5500 Dodge. It's 5000 Ultimate. So it says it's got gonna be 28,022 pound gross weight. It was dated this year, so I don't know why it's got everything. I even got the directions for it here. And it's got a built-in bump stock in it. So we're going to remove the stock bump stocks and put this in place. So that bump stock, apparently if you forget to put air in it, it acts so it doesn't destroy that bag. So anyway, this is going to be a custom application because I've been playing with the parts and stuff to figure out how I'm going to do it. And I found that a drive shaft that I had, if I cut it in half, it drops right over the axle. So we're going to make a plate for the bottom mount so we can clamp the bottom on. And then probably weld the top mount. It's upside down right there. So I'll be able to put, anywhere from 4 to 100 pounds is what the directions say. We're not going to use those. We're going to make a custom mount. But we got all the parts. Yeah, this kit should have cost me, $400 to $500, and I got it off Marketplace for $100. So the guy really helped me out. He had a bunch of really cool cars. It was cool to go see the stuff that he had. But we're gonna work on this now, and everything's subject to be cut or welded. Okay, so I got this tube here, and I've laid it out, and I'm gonna cut, and I'm gonna weld that piece of that drive shaft that I got, kind of spread the load out, and then we're going to use the plate, and we're going to cut this off, weld it to the plate, and then there'll probably be another one on the other side, but not a tube because there's not enough room on the plate that they gave me. So it'll probably just be a piece of a steel plate. You'll see. I'm going to cut this out now and get it put on the lower of the airbag. Alright, I got a piece of this old drive shaft I got thrown out of a drag car, and I'm going to use this I'm going to weld it, spread the load out for where that gets clamped. There'll be another one made on the other side of the bracket so you can take the bolts in and out, but this will be the main locating one. Kind of like how they did it, but a little different. So I'm going to go ahead and get these opened up a little bit. They fit real tight on there, so I'm going to open them up just by tapping with a hammer and get them welded to this piece. And I'm going to section it off here, whatever length that I measure in there. So the truck's been lifted, so even if I would have bought the right kit, this wouldn't have worked. I would have had to modified to accept the lift that the truck's got. Alright, I'm going to keep going here. Alright, so I got these pieces laid out to cut, and I'm going to modify that bracket too. So when this gets cut off, it'll get welded onto here, and then I'll make another just like a plate hold down for this side, and this will be where the airbag bolts on. I don't need this piece, so the 4500 5500 uses a different axle. It's square, it's not round. So they captured the square axle like this, and then used the used like these carriage bolts to hold it in place. Well, we're doing about the same thing. We're going to capture the axle and then use carriage bolts, and once we get it all in there, we may tack it or weld it all together, or make some kind of locating pin so it can't move, because the square couldn't move before. But we'll worry about that later. Right now I need to be able to have it like move around so I can make the upper mount. Most likely when the upper mount's done, it won't really matter. It'll just push, hold the weight up off the axle. Alright, I'm going to cut these pieces now. Alright, so I got the lower mounts here welded, and made sure it was smooth in the inside there. So they're all welded up now. I still got to make this side off, but this side will be able to be clamped, and basically I'm just copying the design that they had, and I'm going to clamp them on, and then I'll be able to fabricate. This side is just going to be basically a spacer. That way, when it pushes down on the bag, that there's something like a block here to push the load out across the whole axle. So it'll probably just be like a square block or another shape like this on this side, just this, a 1/4-inch plate or something. But I got them ready to bolt on, and then I can start working the top mount. I gotta cut all the stuff off. You'll see it. All the old bumper stuff's got to come off so that I can bolt these on. But we're getting closer. All right, just by hand, there was a rubber mount here. This is a bump stop. So I just ripped that off by hand, and this thing's had this much lift done to it. I'm guessing that's, I could probably measure it, but it's a 6 or 7 inch lift in the back, and this was for the bump stock before, and now that air ride is going to take the place of the bump stock, and it actually has a bump stock built in the inside of it. I don't know if you've seen that earlier. So I'm just going to take a razor wheel, come in here, and cut this piece off, because you see how it goes through that hole, and also holds all these U-bolts. I don't know if you've ever tried to buy U-bolts this long. So you can buy these U-bolts like any length from Napa, but they're pretty costly. They cost a good bit. So we're not going to take this apart. This is all good, but we need to get rid of this part. It's got to go. And then we're putting that airbag in right here to the frame. We're going to stiffen the frame up there. Probably going to weld a plate down flat instead of trying to bolt to this, but all this stuff's got to be ground off and cut off. I'm going to remove that lower bump stock now. Alright, so I had to grind a tab that used to wrap around a brake line off, and I've got it all fitted now and bolted on. Now there's a plate that bolts on, and then there's a second plate that has these edge bolts to put on. So this plate, I'm going to run up to the frame and I'm going to weld to this plate, and then these bolts will hold the top together, but this will get welded to be part of the truck. So we're getting there. I gotta make a spacer. It'll just be a spacer right here to touch that frame. That side will be what holds it in place, and then it'll just be a spacer welded to this part right there to have the load put into the axle instead of being torquing it like this. So that's all I gotta do is put like a little chunk of metal in there to finish the lower mount up. So now I just got to I'll clean the frame up and grind it, and then I'm going to weld up to that frame, and then hooking the airlines up real easy. So, but alright, I got this piece of tube and this piece of bar stock that I'm going to make the other part of the lower mount. I'm going to get this stuff cut now on the saw. Alright, I machined the blocks to be able to slide in, and I got the other mount pretty much ready to go. Alright, so this is what I got so far. I got the block coming off the plate, and then I got that piece of tubing. It's going to spread the load out. I've taken some green poster board and I've made out this. I'm going to now go get, to transfer the energy through this block onto that piece of tube that I've modified, and that'll spread the load out across this axle when the force gets put on it. So I'm going to cut that piece out now, and then I can weld this side of the mount up. Alright, I got them all welded. You can see how this comes up against that tube part that I put on. It comes up against this shock mount, and the bag is centered to the back, so if it tries to rotate, this is going to stop it. This is going to be its location thing. So you can see how that works. So I got the lower mount done. Now I can make that upper mount in there. Alright, I'm going to start working on the upper mount now. So I've ground all the paint off the plate, and this bolts to the top of that other one. So I'm going to use it to build off of. We're going to bolt it together. And like I said, I got it ground off the top there. So I got a C channel I'm going to try to use first to go grab the upper part of the frame, and we'll start working on that now. Alright, I'm using a saw and cutting a couple pieces of this 8-inch channel iron here, and I'm gonna go put it in there for the upper mount. Alright, so I put those C channels up on those plates that I ground. Now I'm gonna weld them to them. They're just tacked right now. I'm gonna weld them up, and then I'm gonna start grinding the frame, and I'm gonna bolt this. I'm gonna just come with a some angles or something, and have this bolted onto the frame so I can take it in and out. Alright, so I'm gonna get this welded. Alright, so I got them all welded up there. And so they're ready to go back in. I got it welded inside and out stitch there where I could weld it. There's holes in the bottom of that. So I'm ready to put them back in and then make the angles to grab the frame. Alright, I got this C channel here, and I've cut it and filled in so you see it kind of made a I-beam out of it there. So now I'm going to drill holes on these 4 plates, and then weld them on, and then drill the frame to bolt it. Okay, so I took those pieces I drilled and I put them up here on the frame. I've got it all welded now. I've taken it out and welded. So I'm going to go in and drill these holes, and then those C pieces are all welded on, little tiny C channel. So I'm going to take this now and put it back in there, and then make my distance ones into the frame that way. And I bought 1/2 inch. I went and bought bolts. I bought 1/2 inch bolts. I may do 4-inch bolts all the way through the frame, and weld a spacer in there. That way this thing doesn't move at all. Alright, I've cut and drilled these 4 angles here, and I'm going to go get them welded in. Alright, I got all 4 of them angle brackets welded on. You know, there's two in the front too. Now I'm going to come in here and at this 3-inch piece of angle, I'm going to come up and weld it onto the frame, touch the top. And, so they've been welded and bolted 1/2-inch bolts. I got vertical and horizontal bolts. So I'm going to weld those plates up there, kind of spread the load out to the top too. Alright, that upper piece of angle's welded in there. I gotta weld that, I gotta crawl up under the inside and weld it, but so it's bolted like that. She ain't coming off. I stitched this right here so it can't roll. If I ever need to take it off, I'll just cut that little one little weld. So there she is. I gotta do the brake lines and the air lines still. Alright, so I ran the air lines. I drilled holes right here by my backup light on each side. And I ran new brake lines. Got the air lines ran in there. So she's all done now. And I had her come out here and help me bleed them. Alright. This should help the payload of the truck. Alright, have a nice day.